What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our college football channel. We continue to break down the preseason FPI rankings that ESPN has released for the upcoming 2021 college football season. We have looked at who they are projecting to have the highest win total. We've looked at just the top teams that they have in the FPI. Now we're going to look at the odds to make the playoff, the percent chance that each team has to make the college football playoff, and we're going to look at the top 10 teams. Last time we went from 1 to 10. This time we're going to count it down, 10 to 1, and then finally get to the team with the greatest chance to make the college football playoff according to the FPI. And if you remember the video we did on just the total wins, it was crazy how much different those top 10 teams were compared to just the top 10 teams in the FPI. Well, the playoff chances, that goes much more in line with the actual FPI rankings, and I'll show you what I mean. We're going to start at number 10 here. Penn State has the 10th best chance to make the college football playoff according to the FPI. They have a 7.3% chance, which is pretty high when you think about it. I mean, out of all the teams in college football, a 7% chance to make it, it's not too bad. They're ranked number 10 in the FPI, so they're right in line with where they rank. And they have a 14.9 FPI, which means against an average team, and I mentioned this in another video, the average team, according to the FBI, is Colorado. So against Colorado, Penn State would win by about 2 touchdowns, but a 7.3% chance to make the college football playoff. At number 9, and again, this was the big surprise when we showed you the rankings, Mississippi State ranked number 8 in the FBI. They have an 8.1% chance to make the college football playoff. That is a very high number. I would put Mississippi State's chances at less than 1% if I was going to give you a percentage. I just don't see this team being anywhere near the college football playoff. I think the FBI has just lost it with this team. I have no idea why. And nothing against Mississippi State. I mean, even if they make a big jump this year and that offense really gets it going and everything, if they have a great year, they're still not going to, they're still going to lose a couple of games at least, even in best case scenario. So making the college football playoff to me is almost impossible. I don't understand, again, what the FBI is thinking with this team, but they do give them an 8.1% chance to make it into the college football playoff. Notre Dame comes in at number 8, so they're a little bit higher than their ranking. They're ranked number 11 in the FPI, but they're the number 8 team as far as their chances to make the college football playoff, which is because, the schedule isn't horrible for them. It's a challenging schedule, but it's not too tough. And also the fact that they don't play the conference championship game, which would, I think, lower their chances as far as giving them another loss potentially. So a 10.5% chance to make the college football playoff, a team that just made the playoff last year. 10% is probably pretty accurate. This team could run the table. I mean, they're going to be possibly favored in every game that they play. I think they take a drop from where they were last year, but still, they have a chance. And so 10% is not crazy. I might put them a little bit lower. And at some point, we will do that. I'll give you my percentage for all the teams. But 10.5% chance for Notre Dame as they are at number 8 here in these rankings, number 11 in the FBI. Number 7 is Georgia. That's right where they rank in the FBI. They are a 17.9 in the FBI, but they have a 17.2. You're starting to see these numbers jump up a little bit. 17.2% chance to make the college football playoff. I would actually put this team higher. The one thing that hurts them is the game against Clemson, and that's why I think their percentage is not going to be super high. But when you look at the SEC East and just look at their schedule outside of that Clemson game, they're going to be favored in every game that they play. And if Florida does drop off a little bit this year, they're going to be pretty significant favorites in every game that they play. Whereas if you do beat Clemson, you don't really even necessarily have to win the SEC championship. You could lose that game if it's to Alabama and still make the college football playoff. So there are, a great chance for them to get in. But if you do lose to Clemson and then you lose to Alabama, you're talking about playing 2 of the top 2 or 3 teams in the country. So if you lose those 2 games, not going to make the college football playoff. So I think that's why their percentage is a little bit lower. But for me personally, I'd probably put Georgia higher than 17.2%. I think they're up, under 50%, but they're getting up there closer to that 50% mark. So number 7, Georgia. Number 6 is Texas A&M. They were also number 6 in the FPI rankings. They have a 25.8% chance to make the college football playoff. As you continue to see these numbers go higher and higher, that is a pretty big number. And when you look at the fact that they have to deal with Alabama in the SEC West, at first you say that's a pretty high number. I don't really see this team at a 25.8% chance. But, I mentioned this last year, and it almost got them into the playoff. And I picked them to make the playoff before the Big Ten decided to play. I picked them to lose one game to Alabama, and that'd be the only regular season loss. That's what happened. I got that right. But it wasn't enough to get them into the playoff because the Big Ten came back, Pac-12 came back. Of course, they didn't really factor into the playoff. But there is a path for them this year. And now that they've done it, would have done it 2 years in a row. They were ranked really high last year. They do it again. They play Alabama in a close one, lose that one game. There's a path for Texas A&M to make the college football playoff without winning the SEC. So 25.8%, maybe that's actually pretty accurate. All right, number 5 is Iowa State. Iowa State comes in here at number 5. They were actually number 4 in the FPI. A 40.6% chance to make the college football playoff. Pretty high number for Iowa State. Again, you look at their path to get in, though, it seems like Iowa State and Oklahoma have kind of separated themselves from the rest of the pack in the Big 12. But you still have quality teams in that conference. You have teams that can beat you like Texas, TCU, Oklahoma State. So to get in there, it just seems tough. It seems tough. You've got to win the Big 12 championship. But if they can beat everyone else and lose to Oklahoma State in the regular season and then beat them in a rematch, they could absolutely make the college football playoff. This team's going to be good enough to be in that conversation. So 40.6% seems like a high number, but if you just find a way to win that Big 12 championship game, Iowa State could sneak in there. So I think that's maybe a little high, but not too high because, again, this is a really, really good team. At number 4, we've got Ohio State. They are number 5 in the FPI rankings, but they have a 45% chance to make it into the playoff. So they have a higher percentage than Iowa State, even though they're ranked a little bit lower than them. And that's simply because their path is so much easier. You look at their schedule, it's hard to see them losing a game. It really is. I mean, the schedule is not going to be that tough. You got Indiana. That could be a tough matchup there. Oregon, of course. But they're going to be favored in every game. I don't really see a challenger for them in the Big Ten championship game. I don't really see a team out of the Big Ten West that, in my opinion, could beat Ohio State. So this, and I've been struggling with my playoff predictions, trying to figure them out, which we're months away from me actually giving you official predictions. But that's one of the things when I just start thinking about it. Ohio State could go undefeated. They could absolutely be up there. But are they one of the 4 best teams? I don't know, because I think when you look at Alabama and Clemson and Oklahoma and Georgia and even Iowa State, is Ohio State better than a couple of those teams? I don't know. It's tough to say, but they're going to have a really good shot to make the playoff just because they're going to be better than everyone that they play. At number 3, we've got Clemson. Clemson comes in at number 3. They're actually number 3 in the FPI rankings, and there is that playoff percentage at 64.6%. Similar to Ohio State, but to an even bigger degree, they're going to be favored against everyone that they play, except for Georgia. But they can lose to Georgia and win the rest of their games, and they're probably going to make the college football playoff. There are some challengers in the Coastal. When I look at North Carolina and Miami, I think both of those teams could be really good this year. Because of that, I think Clemson's numbers are a little bit lower than we've seen in the past. I mean, we've seen Clemson with some really high numbers with these preseason percentages, just because it's hard to imagine them losing. But that Georgia game is there. They also have some challengers, I think, in the Coastal Division. So Clemson at 64.6%, still a very high percentage. At number 2, it's Oklahoma. 73.2% chance to make the college football playoff. A very, very high number there. They are number 2 in the FBI. FBI likes this team. A lot of people really on board with Oklahoma. I think they're a team that's going to be picked by a lot of people to win the national championship this year, and they're definitely a team that I'm considering. But Iowa State's kind of in their way. I think if Iowa State was not expected to be so good, you might see this percentage a little bit lower, but 73.2% chance that Oklahoma makes the college football playoff, and I tend to agree with that. I think they're going to have a really good shot. Higher than Clemson? No, I think Clemson is going to have a better shot just because of their path. Like I said, you got Iowa State, and there are some tough teams in the Big 12. It's not like they're playing a bunch of bad teams. There may not be any other really good teams, but there are solid teams. There is good competition in that conference. So 73.2%, pretty high, but again, a team that has a lot of hype coming into this year. But number one is Alabama. Alabama number one in the FPI. They also have the best chance to make the college football playoff. 76.3% chance that the Tide is back in the college football playoff. You look at their regular season, it's hard to see them losing a game. If they lose to, say, Georgia in the SEC championship, they might still make it into the playoffs. So I think this is a team that probably has a better chance to make the playoff than they do to win the SEC championship. Just because of the regular season for them, it's really not that tough. And the FPI would actually back that up. They give them a 76.3% chance to make the playoff. They only give them a 51.3% chance to win the SEC. So there are some paths there for Alabama that they can get to the playoff without even winning the SEC championship. So you really like their chances. And again, they are the number one team. They have the best chance to make the college football playoff according to the FBI. Outside of the top 10, we had Oklahoma State at 4.8%, Oregon at 4.8%, Wisconsin 4.4%, North Carolina 4.2%, Florida 2.7%, Texas 2.2%, Cincinnati 1.2%, Miami 1%, and then everyone else is under 1% or at 0. So those are the playoff percentages. Again, you can go over to ESPN.com and look at all of these numbers. You can go check out the FBI there and look at anything that you want to look at. But we're going to continue to break it down here on the channel and just kind of rank the top teams in each category. These were the top 10 teams to make the college football playoff in 2021. Give me your feedback down in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports College Football Channel.